welcome back. President Biden's going to do a new round of loan forgiveness. Let's hear what people have to say about it.
What's everyone's plans with student loans come 2025? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm stressed about it, and I'm trying not to think about it, but I can't get it out of my head. I'm so anal and so obsessive that it's there, and it won't leave, and it's actually driving me insane. So are we collectively all agreeing to just not pay it?
Yes.
To protest for legal reasons? This is a joke, but seriously, are we?
No.
Because if not, individually, I've come up with 3 options for myself, and if they work for you, feel free to take them. Number 1 is to U-Haul, so I can split the cost of living, so rent, groceries, everything else, with another person. That's option 1.
Right.
Option 2 is to sell an organ for legal purposes. This is also a joke. Now, I haven't looked into how much each organ is worth, so I'd have to do some research into that, but I'm thinking maybe a kidney. And option 3 is to hope that in the next month, the Biden-Harris administration just wipes out all student loans. Now, I know that's probably not realistic, but in my little delusional, hopeful mind, that's what I'm hoping for.
So I think he's forgiving it for nurses, service members, and public service workers, or something along those lines. If you guys know, let me know down below.
For the past 9 years, almost 10 years, I've been having trouble paying my student loans every single month, and Discover is one of them that I literally hated to pay every month. This can't be real. Look at this letter that I just got. As part of Discover exiting the student loan business, we are writing to inform you that we reduce the balance of your defaulted student loans listed below to $0.
Okay.
If you got this letter too and you have a Discover student loan, let me know, because this is like a great day. This is so amazing. Oh my God.
It seems crazy how some people are getting forgiven and then others not.
Vent about college loans. Okay, so I've been a teacher. There's teacher loan forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness. Don't judge my hair, I'm homesick. I'm at my mom's house, homesick, to escape my baby and husband for a while. But, so yeah, this is a great time to let me call Aidvantage, my service loan provider. The person that I was talking to today trying to get clarification between teacher loan forgiveness and public service loan forgiveness was literally reading from Google, and I could totally tell.
Oh, that would
Every
be annoying.
question that I asked, she got it wrong, and then I would correct her and say, well, according to blah, blah, blah. And she'd be like, well, can you just what website are you on? Let me read that. Are you for real? Giving me inaccurate information about the public service loan forgiveness, which I qualify for if COVID payments count, but completely giving me all inaccurate information. Then I'm placed on hold, and then long behold, they get hung up on.
Oh, that is the worst. Have you ever called a government number about 4 in the afternoon, and their office closes at 5, but they keep you on hold till 5, and then you just get hung up on? It's the most irritating thing in the world.
Probably the biggest hoax that I've heard is the student loan forgiveness. Out of everything that I've heard this year, it's one of the worst policies that you could think of. It teaches our kids to not take responsibility. It teaches our society that you don't need to take responsibility for what you do. You can do something, you're not responsible for it. You take out a loan, you borrow money from somebody, you don't need to pay it back. I've learned that you have to pick a side. Before, 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I didn't want to pick a side. I'm not Democrat or Republican, but now I find myself running from what they're doing right now. I'm running the other direction as fast as I can. It's sad. We can't make the government larger. Making the government bigger is going to be terrible. It's catastrophic for our kids.
Didn't Reagan say, I'm from the government and I'm here to help? It's like the 7 worst words you could hear.
We need to be honest with each other for a second. This is why I'm not a fan of student loan forgiveness. Look
Why?
at the title. You know what that means? That means that your kids are going to be paying a higher tuition than you ever did. That means your grandchildren are going to be paying a higher tuition than you ever did. That means when they get older, they're going to look at you and say, we deserve student loan forgiveness just like you did. The reason why people are forgiving your student loans now is not because they're trying to help you. They're trying to win your vote. But we're not fixing the problem. Why is the government charging 6.5% on a student loan? Why are these colleges raising tuition every single year, even though the education that they're giving you isn't improving?
Oh, I like
until
that.
we actually start to fix the problem, we're just going to be bought for our votes. They're forgiving your student loan just to get your vote.
There is something kind of creepy about how it seems like one side is trying to bribe you to vote for them.
First off, how is student loan forgiveness fair to all those people that have already paid off all of their student loans, or at least most of them? Like, if they knew that it was just going to get forgiven later, they probably would have taken out more money or not grinded so hard to pay them off. Second of all, how is it fair to the rest of America that would have to pay the taxes to pay off all of these loans? Like, that money could be so much better spent elsewhere or just not taxed at all. Thirdly, if you take out a loan, you have a responsibility to pay it back. Maybe that makes me old fashioned, but it is what it is.
I can see both sides of the story. You know, maybe they could do something where they reduce the interest, but you still have to pay back the balance and at least something. They got to come up with something better than we're going to forgive a percentage of you and the others. Tough luck.
Let's talk about the worst arguments against student loan forgiveness ever. I ain't using my taxes to pay for your schooling. They're full of shit. They ain't using their taxes for jack or shit. Student loan forgiveness just means you've been forgiven a debt. That means you have extra money to put back into the economy. Not to mention those loans are derived from student loans, and your schooling also is paid by grants and your parents. Taxpayers really don't enter into the conversation, especially boomers whose college was free and Gen Xers whose college was relatively cheap. When I left college, my student loan debt was $3,000 only drawn out through interest. Your interest rates are worse. Plus the fact the whole making us pay for school was a whole scam developed by the Republicans, and as always, the Democrats just bent over and left them.
Bend over a Democrat.
To the people with student loans like me, I know there's a group of people on here that are like, we're just not paying it back. I am now on that boat because I thought previously I could afford paying it back. You know, it would be a struggle, but I could afford it, especially with the Save Planning Act, which actually got canceled. And I didn't realize it went into immediate effect that it got canceled.
Question, when you just don't pay for it, isn't it one of those loans that they'll eventually wage garnish your pay?
Because it sent my account to the negative. And when I saw that the other day, I was like, excuse me? It tripled the amount of money that they want me to pay a month. And just for reference, it's 10% of my 6-figure salary.
Question, do you think that's a flex right there? And do you feel sorry for someone that's making 6 figures? Obviously, their college helped them get that career. I think in her case, she should pay it.
On top of car payments, on top of rent, on top of trying to just live and buy groceries, 10% of my salary? And you still expect me to save money for future life because now you're taking away Social Security.
No one said they were taking away Social Security. In her case, she makes 6 figures. I think you can pay your bill. I still think she was flexing there. Was she flexing? Let me know down below.
You heard it from someone who has over 6 figures in federal student loan debt, who works in public service, who has worked in public service for 10 years, has made monthly on-time payments in that entire 10 years, who is not one of the 55,000 lucky folks who is getting student loan forgiveness from the president this morning. It's a completely misleading statement. It makes it seem like he's Santa Claus and giving this big gift when it's people who applied under the statute after hitting the 120 qualifying payments, which is what I don't have, even though I have the 10 years of work in a public service organization and field. He's just giving that to them, as they rightfully should have, as is required under the statute, and that Trump denied at a rate of 99% and gets ready to dismantle income-based repayment and this public service loan forgiveness.
It's a tough deal. She paid for 10 years in a row. She was promised something. She's part of the public service workforce, and for whatever reason, they're not giving it to her. But you want to know something? I have a feeling that the courts are going to reject this last round, and you guys will probably be forced to pay it anyway. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
So June 30th, Biden was trying to help the students out with the loan forgiveness things, but then the Supreme Court voted against it. So basically, they said, no, you pay us, said the court, all the students out there. It's ridiculous. I think education is so taxed to begin with. You know what I mean? Education should be free. It really should be. our parents are struggling, trying to make ends meet anyways, and here we are trying to skip from high school, trying to go to college, and the difference, high school being free to college being like in tens of thousands, whatever. It's ridiculous. And plus COVID hit and all that other stuff, and they still expect students to pay for all that during the pandemic. So I'm really upset with the Supreme Court, but thanks, court, looking out for.
Some of these videos are a little bit older. I was trying to show you people that were for the loan forgiveness and people that were against it. Some of them are a little bit older.
So today is December 20th. It's a Friday, and it's been a couple months since I submitted the public service loan forgiveness, and I just finally got my official letter saying that they are determining that I am eligible for public service loan forgiveness. This is what the official letter looks like.
Wow, this is today's date. If you look right there, the balance of one, 55,000, the balance of the other is a little bit over 11,000. So it looks like today she was rewarded with a $66,000 lottery ticket right before Christmas, and you can see she's glowing. She's so happy.
So excited. This has actually made my Friday.
Well, Merry Christmas. I wonder if, because it said 30 business days, I wonder if Trump comes in office, if he can reverse that, or if it'll end up going through the courts, or if she's in the clear. If she's in the clear, good for her. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Here it is now. Today's December 20th. He's forgiving more public service workers. So if you are a public service worker, today he forgave 55,000 borrowers. You may be in that number or you may not. He's doing it in increments. He's trying to forgive everybody before the orange one gets in there again. So watch out for a notification. Anybody in the public service sector today, he forgave 55,000 borrowers automatically. You didn't have to meet a certain amount of payments. So just, watch your email and, watch your student loan account to see if you're part of the number. And you're welcome and happy holiday.
You thought when you didn't get the job you wanted and you went and took a government job doing public service that you wouldn't get lucky someday, but you did. Merry Christmas, you guys, if this affects you. And if it doesn't, life isn't fair.
Now, everybody else in the whole entire world, they got their loans forgiven. But mine's never got forgiven. Is there anybody else out there that have astronomically high student loans? I got student loans back from like 12 years ago from a school that closed, that took all my money, like Brown Mackie College. Fast forward, I go back to school. I go finally get my bachelor's. It took me a few years, but I stayed the course. We here. But why do I still owe loans from Brown Mackie College? Why would they not forget it? I filled out all that information. Everybody and their mama was getting their loans forgiven. Why ain't mine forgiven? And I'm a public healthcare worker.
I wonder if she was maybe one of those that didn't pay her bill and didn't qualify or something like that. I think if you're able to pay your bill every day or every year for 10 years without missing a payment, you probably didn't need loan forgiveness in the first place. I'm just saying.
Student loan forgiveness has been announced again.
Okay.
This time, it is going to affect those who have had public service loan forgiveness. Those are public service workers only for this round. Now, what they're doing is they're going to correct the issues associated with the forgiveness that you should have gotten before. However, some of you may not have your applications in correctly because you do have to ensure that you do that application every year. The reason is they only give you credit for forgiveness up through the date that you submitted that application. That is all that got verified. So you may need to fix that. What do you do to fix it, or how do you find out what's going on with yours or what your employer has submitted for you? You need to go to studentaid.gov. When you go there, go to My Activity. When you go to My Activity, you're going to go down the screen until you get to Public Service Loan Forgiveness. Then you'll do the down arrow and you're going to hit Details, which is going to be right in that box on the left-hand side. Once you go into the details, it's going to explain to you, show you exactly what was submitted for you. if that needs to be corrected, I would call the Department of Education first to find out what they have, what's wrong, what's going on, and then contact your employer to submit anything that may be missing so that you can be a part of this round of student loan forgiveness.
I'm going to call the cops. This is thievery. Anyway, why don't you guys go get your shoes? Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters. Do you guys realize that we're approaching 300 consecutive days of Venters walking together? Congratulations, Venters. We are on pace to go a whole year straight. Let's do it. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but President Biden announced his administration is canceling some student debt to the tune of $4.28 billion. It's for teachers, nurses, service members, and law enforcement. That's right, for public service workers to the tune of about 55,000 people. So that's probably exciting for those folks, but correct me if I'm wrong, but every time I hear about him forgiving debt, I feel like it goes to the courts and then the courts end up taking it back. So I don't know if that's going to work at all. As you guys know, my son probably has a mountain's worth of student debt. And because I know that some of these loans didn't really seem like the coolest of loans, I was kind of on my son's side, like, maybe we should forgive debt. But son, you've been ditching your dad for so long. Damn it, I'm changing my mind back to the Republican side. You're gonna have to pay for that shit. I'm your dad, not Biden. Damn it. Whether this goes through or not, it doesn't really affect my life too bad, but there's a lot of people that have paid their college debt, so I could see how they don't want this to go through. And there's a lot of people that aren't gonna ever pay off that college debt, but you know what? At least you got to go. God bless it. So it looks like to date, he's approved $180 billion in debt for 5 million people. Now, maybe you guys can explain this to me, because once again, I could have sworn all the times he tried to forgive debt, I thought the courts kind of took it back and reversed it. But if there's a couple that actually made it through, let me know. One of my coworkers about a year ago said that her debt was forgiven, but it was only because she never missed a payment for a whole 10-year period. If you have to make perfect payments for 10 years in a row, God, are you really the person that needs relief from your debt anyway? It sounds like you're pretty damn good at paying it. But at the same time, these interest rates are such where apparently if you make the minimum payment, you'll literally be paying for the rest of your life. But you went to college, you should know that already. So here's my question to you guys, Venters. Is there ever anything that you kind of go back and forward with? This is one of those that I don't have student debt, but I believe my son does. My daughter, on the other hand, doesn't. It's one of those things where in my son's case, I think he took out a bunch of student loans and then he ended up dropping out of college anyway. It's like, oh my God, how devastating is that? If you're gonna take loans, your parents or counselors or whatever, they need to tell you, make sure you don't drop out, because you might as well stay if you're gonna have to pay regardless, right? By the way, Mala, yesterday in your comments, you said that I guess your son punched a teacher when he was in 2nd grade. And when I was meaning about, when we should send parents to jail for these things, I was talking more along the lines of the older kids, older than a 7 or 8 year old. But just to be fair, Mala, I'm sending the cops to your house. They'll be there to pick you up in 20 minutes. Kidding. At Prickly Cactus Blossom 6790 says, and here I am, still paying mine off. That's the thing. Some people, their credit is so important to them, and the idea of one day conquering their bills is so important to them that they don't look to others or to President Biden or the current administration to solve their financial woes. They put their head down, they get extra work,
They do overtime, they do whatever it takes to go ahead and get that loan paid off. And some people pay their loan every single month without fail, and they are set to pay that off. And I'll tell you what, if you take your bills and you find a way to conquer them, it's such a sense of accomplishment. Sometimes you hear these stories of people that are working in the service industry, right? They're making barely past minimum wage, and they've got these crazy stories about how they owe $400,000 or $500,000 in student loans. No matter how you break down the math, you're going to have student loans forever. But that's one of those things where, again, I'm assuming to have that much loans probably means you went to school and then ultimately dropped out. We need to start letting kids know these loans are forever. You cannot quit no matter what. If you do, you're literally going to push yourself into a future where your finances suck just forever. Is that the best way to tell kids? Probably not, but at the same time, just tell them, look, you take a loan out, your life's gonna suck. But I wanna go to school. Yeah, so does everybody, Bob. So does everybody. And that's a true statement. Remember, a lot of people wanna go to school, but a lot of people have to do it the realistic way. What's that, Jesse? That means you go down to the junior college. You go to the community college. You get all your needed requiremental classes out of the way, your Englishes, your math, stuff that'll transfer to the university. And then after you finish out your stint at the community college, you actually go to the actual university while you maintain some sort of employment so that you can kind of pay your way through life. Is it easy? No, but nothing worth attaining is ever easy. You think this shit is easy, walking every day with this 30-pound camera? Get real. The only thing that's slightly easier than this, paying off your college loans. Yulia0504 says different rules for different people. I'm so sick of it. How about people who are on a budget, have no money, and paying for their loans? See, this is the problem. When President Biden came in, he was promising unity. And it seems like every move he makes, whether it's on purpose or not, it seems like it actually cuts and divides. So he said he was going to release or give the relief to teachers, service members, like members of the military, right? And I thought they had the GI Bill. Isn't the GI Bill where they get to go to school for free anyway? But either way, service members, nurses, and teachers, right? They can apply for this relief. It's going to help about 55,000 people around the country. I guess it's his parting gift. But if everything he sends up gets rejected by the court system, then it sounds to me like it's just one of those gifts that he's going to, not be able to fulfill and, come through with. I don't know about you, but I like when people give me gifts that are actually tangible and you can take them to the bank. I don't like gifts that are give them to me one day, take them back the next. I don't remember their names, but there was 2 girls, and the man they showed on a video kind of was like leading them in a certain way, and I guess he ended up taking their lives. I saw today on my video feed as I was walking out the door, I guess they gave that guy 180 years. My thinking is, you should just take him out. Gosh, does anybody else feel a little disgusted that he's going away for 180 years? That means that over the next decade or so, he gets to wake up 365 times a year, have 3 square meals, gets to shower once a day or once every other day, whatever they do when they're in prison. And he gets to live his life. He gets to get letters from loved ones. He gets to get visits from his family members and friends. And it's just like people like that. I just don't know how we think it's, oh my God, he didn't just get 25 years, Jesse. He got 180 years. Well, guys, think about it. He's been living the last 10 or 15 years as a free man when he should have been in prison this whole time. And now we're going to keep him alive on the system and we're all going to pay for it, to keep him alive for another 20, 30, 40 years, however long he lives. It's crazy. And I'd be willing to bet there's going to be some sort of group out there that after 15 or 20 years will probably ask the courts for leniency so he can be home the last years of his life. just a bunch of garbage. There's always a freedom fighter ready to help for the cause of the horribly evil. But man, it seems like there's no one out there ready to fight for the cause of the victim. It's really sick. That's one of those that even if I would have done some homework on those, that was one of those cases where I can't watch it. The whole idea that a person does that evil stuff to little girls or little boys, you know, just awful. Very, very awful. The only solace that the family has is that at least the two girls were friends and they parted the earth together. So they're eternal friends, right? That's the only bit of solace, is that at least they didn't have to go through it alone. But it's one of those that you don't even want to think about because it's just so evil. And I just can't believe that we are infested with evil people in this world. I wish us that were good would just say, you know what, we're not going to have you people in our world. I wish we could. I know it's never going to happen. There's too many people that say, hey, let them rot their life away in jail. My thinking is, I wish we could come up with a plan that would make it so scary that bad guys never want to do that evil stuff again, but I know that's wishful thinking. Either way, very, very sad. There is no such thing as good news. Whether they gave him 50 or 60 years or 180, it works out to the same thing. He gets to breathe and live another day, while those two girls, their family gets to think about the nasty, evil stuff that guy did to their daughters for the rest of their life. If anybody agrees with me, please let me know. Mike Nathan, 4440, says, make Biden pay for it out of the big guy's account. See, this is the thing that's so disgusting. Over the last 5 years, all I heard was about this Richard Steele Russian dossier stuff, right? And it was supposed to be, you know, trying to find out how bad and evil Trump was. And in reality, it sounds like the evil one was this Biden character the whole time. He and his son, you know, they're just a garbage family. And then Biden ends up lying to everybody, saying he's not going to pardon his son. And then he ends up pardoning him. And I told you guys, I don't care that he pardoned his son because I think most family members would do that. But what I do care about is that people know he really wasn't a good president. And even if he's able to come through and give this student relief to these 55,000 lucky winners, I still don't think that makes him a good president. I don't even think he was the president over these last 4 years. Does anybody else feel like he was just in there, you know, to say we had a president, but somebody else was obviously making the decisions? I want to know who that somebody else was, because to me, it sounds like whoever they are, they illegally led our country for 4 years. I would love to know who was actually president over the last 4 years. I'm wearing these Puma sneakers. I don't know if you guys can see my Pumas, but I'm wearing these Pumas, and I got them for like $40 online a couple weeks ago. And man, it's probably the best $40 that I've spent on shoes in a long time, because it feels like I'm walking on a cloud. I love when you buy shoes and they're just surprisingly a better value than you even thought. And I say that because 90% of the shoes that I buy nowadays are online, whether it's through Amazon or through a website. Very rarely do I actually go to the mall and pick out a pair I like from the mall. Number one, they usually don't have a very good selection. Number two, even when they have a good selection, it's usually $20-30 more at the mall. So while I tell you guys, quit buying online, go in the mall and buy something, you know, sometimes I'm a little hypocritical when it comes to actually doing that myself. Yes, I'm a hypocrite. We all are. At least I admit it. At Reasonably Sane, love that name, says, nope. The Supreme Court made it pretty clear. Nice try, Biden. You can almost picture her. Biden! So, you guys, I need your help on this. Is he getting debt relief for people? Are some of these being approved and allowed to stand? Or does everyone get rejected in the courts? Because if he gives people relief every 3 or 4 months, which it sounds like he does, and they just constantly get rejected in the courts, then it sounds to me like he's kind of wasting everybody's time. And if every time these things go to the Supreme Court and get rejected, then isn't the big guy just wasting everybody's time and money on top of it? Seems like a wasted, I don't know, it seems like a wasted opportunity. By the way, guys, Notre Dame plays Indiana tonight. Normally, I would always go for Notre Dame. But my thinking is, I love to go with the underdog. And Indiana is never in this situation. So, as crazy as it sounds, I think I might kind of root for Indiana, but I'm totally okay if Notre Dame wins. I like Notre Dame. 2.5 Bengals says, I paid $80,000 in loans. The F, as in the F word, is my reimbursement. See, that's the tough thing. You paid $80,000 to go to the university for 4 years, I'm assuming. And hopefully you were able to get a nice career out of that. And hopefully you were able to pay that $80K off in style, where you didn't have to eat ramen noodles while you were doing it. But I'll tell you one thing, you make a great point. If he's going to give relief to some, and you would have been one of those people to get that relief, but instead you paid your bill, it really begs the question, should you get some sort of reimbursement? But at the same time, should this guy be offering to bless people of their student loans and relieve them of that debt when the courts have already told him it's kind of beyond his scope? I think it's a wonderful thing if he could pull it off. I think it's also an awful thing because it sounds to me like 1 out of every 2 people you ask absolutely hate the idea of it happening. Hi, how are you? And I think what we have to do is we have to just throw our hands up in the air and say, you know what? If you take out a loan in this country, you're expected to pay it. It's just the way it is. If I could wave my magical wand and somehow take away your debts, that would be great, you know? But unfortunately, it sounds like not even the president can do that. And, you know, the reality is if there are some winners and losers in the lottery to get your debts paid by the government, that just seems kind of unfair. We should all have to pay our debts. It's just the way it is. I go back and forth on that sometimes, but the only reason I even was going back and forth on it is because I know my son has student loan debts. And that's a horrible reason to go back on, you know, what your thoughts are when it comes to that. Don't be a Jesse. Don't be wanting to get relief from student debt because it affects your son. Your son doesn't even talk to you. Let him pay his bills. Okay, you win. You win. I'll give you his address so you can send him the bill. I've set it up where my life insurance policy and all my money goes to my daughter. And it's not that I don't want my son to have half of it, because I really do. But my golly, if you're not gonna reach out to me and stuff, and I can't even give the life insurer your information to reach out to you, then it sounds to me like you shouldn't want the money that I leave over when I pass anyway. So I told my daughter, you know, I love my son. If anything ever happens to me, please help him with at least some of the money that I give you. And she goes, yes, Daddy, I will. How much is it? Too Riled says illegal. He can't. He was stopped in court. So again, I feel like I heard the same thing, Riled. I felt like I heard that on more than one occasion, it was considered just, you know, no bueno. It wasn't going to happen. So earlier I had mentioned that it looks like he already gave, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars of relief to quite a few people. Is that true? Can you guys help me verify that? If you know that for a fact, some people did get that relief. Like I said, I think my coworker got some relief, but part of the deal with that was that she had to make 10 years worth of payments without any delinquencies. So again, if you're able to successfully live your life and pay 10 years worth of payments without any problems, it kind of seems like Joe's helping the people that don't really need the help, as horrible as that sounds. Does that make sense? I mean, if you can pay your own bills, why would we want to stop you from paying your own bills? Seems kind of goofy to me. At Slick Rick Down South. Now that is a pimp name, isn't it? At Slick Rick Down South says it is scary to know how much more damage he can do before he's booted out as the quote-unquote world's worst president ever. It doesn't say world's, just worst president ever. What do you guys think? Even if you're Democrat, do you think he was really a top 5 Democrat president of all time? I mean, I would say that it seems like everybody across the board, including Democrats, aren't very excited about him. When he did that last debate with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump kind of went nice on him. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but I was like, Donald Trump could have pounced on him, but instead he was kind of a gentleman. He knew that he was winning that debate, and he just kind of left it alone. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like the Democrats themselves kind of started eating up Biden, saying, man, get out. You need to pull out of this race. You're going to cause the whole party to just implode. Get out of here. And then instead of going through the right process of finding a proper candidate, they just kind of forced Kamala into the picture. And it just seemed like a recipe for disaster. And then I don't know if you guys heard this, but the goofiest thing about the whole thing was that Kamala had $1 billion to try to beat Trump, and some way, somehow, she overspent by $20 million. All those people that she had talking for her, she paid off every one of them. Like, nobody believed in her message even enough to go out there and talk for free. So all those celebrities, they just look like sellouts to me. It's crazy. And then yet, if Donald Trump, remember in the past, Donald Trump would use certain music groups' music, and they would like sue him, like, you can't use our music or whatever. Holy moly. I think famous people are just jerks. They really are. They live this life that's just so above what you and I live, and yet they're giving everybody advice on who to vote for and stuff. Man, if you listen to Puff Daddy on who to vote for and stuff, my God. Turn on the TV, watch what's happening in the world. It's crazy. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. It's a little warm, but it's getting cooler with every step I take. I'm going to do some extra credit. Why don't you guys join me? Why don't you guys put your shoes on? And even if you've already taken a walk for the day, why don't you guys take another walk? It's beautiful this time of year. Remember, starting the 1st, we're going to all dive into another 90-day walking challenge. So make sure that if you are going to eat like a jerk this next week for Christmas, make sure you prepare for the 1st, where we can get rid of all that evil, all those donuts. You guys have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow.